Okay, so earlier this year we planted a new hedgerow up on one of our sites, but we've done it slightly differently this year. Normally where we use the standard, we put plastic tubing on, we put canes. This year we've decided to not do any of that. We haven't even put weed matting down. The reason for this is quite often we find that when you put the plastic tubes on, the new vegetation around the plants grows up, they'll sweat in the tubes and inevitably rot and die off at the base of the plant, killing them outright. So this year we've just planted them as bare whips straight in the soil and left them. And that includes also leaving the hedgerow vegetation to grow up around them, so that when we're not trimming them at all, so they're growing in a natural hedgerow setting. Benefit of this means we're increasing floral diversity as well, so it's not just bare grass with some hedgerows in amongst it. We've actually got all the natural hedgerow vegetation coming through, so we're getting actually this succession, which is very natural. And it also is very good for the insects because you've got more flora coming up. So if I just show you, so you've got a lovely mix of different hedgerow flora coming up there, which when a hedgerow is fully established, you'll lose a lot of that and it will only be restricted down at the bottom. Now, the benefit of actually doing it the natural way is that the new hedging is actually protected. So if we look, hedgerow vegetation coming up here, but what it does is it helps lock in the moisture beneath the soil. So if we kept on cutting this soil would dry out very, very quickly. The grass growing in it would grow twice as strong and remove a lot more water. So then the plants would suffer because because they'd be prone to dehydration. But if you look here, these new whips are doing very, very well, and they're not getting smothered. I mean, some of them have got some of the grasses growing over them, but they are natural and healthy, and you can sort of see even here new buds coming through even where they look like they might be weaker. Got hornbeam, hawthorn, hornbeam. They're doing all really, really well. Even the small ones here, there's no sign of them actually dying off. And in fact, we've got the opposite, is where they were dying off earlier in the year because of the winds and the dry period that we have. If you actually peel back the hedgerow vegetation, you can see that these whips are growing really, really well. And actually underneath it all, they are very leafy and they are pushing up beautifully. Okay, so this is the hornbeam that was going to fail. You can see there it's completely dead at the ends. And this died really early back, and we had the dry spell and the high winds. But if you look down at the base, in the shelter of all the vegetation around it, which is nettles, bracken and other grasses, you can see beautiful new buds coming up. So those new buds will keep growing, and this is actually the natural way that trees grow. So a lot of trees actually rely in the wild on things like nettle patches, brambles, because it encourages them to grow up through it, encourages upward growth very quickly because they're reaching for the light, and they're also protected from herbivores, wind and dehydration. So doing the natural way, we seem to be winning.